Hello, I'm Dhanya Rajendran, and you're watching the News Minute. Most times we come to you with stories of despair. We criticize the police, the prosecution, and everyone when cases go wrong. Which is why I thought it's equally important to celebrate when there's a milestone judgment. And that's exactly what happened in Karnataka when former Member of Parliament Prajwal Revanna got sentenced to life imprisonment. We should be talking to those people who are behind making sure that this judgment came through. And that's why we're in conversation with Mr. B.K. Singh, who is the ADGP of the CID in Karnataka, and Suman Pennekar, who's the DCP of Intelligence. Both of them were heading and part of the special investigation team that looked at the Prajwal Revanna case. I'll start with the most simple question. What does this judgment mean to you, and how happy and satisfied was the team with the judgment?
Morning, Dhanya. Commenting about the judgment and personal feeling, it is satisfaction, full satisfaction and sense of achievement, we can say. And most important, that relieving a burden from the head, which we were carrying since last 1 year, 4 months. And it was a day-to-day struggle from the date of registration of the case, or from the date of formation of SIT till the date of judgment. And that feeling of relief, nobody can describe it. It cannot be described in the word. And I agree, probably Suman also.
Yes.
The same.
It was a moment of elation for all of us, all the team, especially the IO ourselves who were supervising the case. From day one when the investigation started, this day we were trying to visualize and go towards it step by step. So it definitely was a milestone.
So we'll discuss about the case in itself, but just to make everybody understand, there are 4 cases against Prajwal Revanna and there are 5 victims. This is the first case in which we have a judgment. The trial is started in the second case, right? And there are so are you also hopeful that because there is a judgment in this case which has sentenced him to life imprisonment, the other victims also will feel empowered now to tell court what exactly happened?
Being hopeful, I will not put up in this way. Going by the trial, what had happened in the first case, we think that the trial will go on the similar lines. The end result definitely will be known after the trial. But we are very confident about the victims. Since they had made up their mind to come forward, they give the complaint. I don't see that there is going to any change in between. And since Suman and the team were interacting with the victims continuously during investigation and after the charge sheet also, they are in touch with them. So she will be knowing much better about the mental state of the victims as on today.
Yes, definitely. After the conviction of the first case, we interacted with the other victims also. So that I found them very much confident, much more confident than they were earlier. So, and as Sir said, the investigation definitely has happened on the same lines. So more than being just hopeful, we know, the trial will also be in the similar lines and evidences will be appreciated and the victims definitely they'll stand by their word which they had given to us during investigation. So I think it should give us good result in the next trial also.
When you held a press meet immediately after the judgment, one thing that you said struck me a lot. You said that there were a lot of women who you identified from those videos, right? When the videos came, there were so many of them. And I think a lot of women were identified, but it is the poorest of the poor women, mostly, all of them working in his house, who actually came forward to fight this case.
No, see, total, there were 4 victims who came forward. 2 were the persons who were working in the family farmhouse or the household. And 2 were not working. They were totally independent. And they also came forward. Remaining victims are regions best known to them, maybe societal pressure or other regions. They did not come forward to give the complaint. Or there may be some fear. That's why in the press meet I said, even if now also victims want to come forward, and if they come forward to give lodge the complaint, we will take up the case and investigate. So we are still stand by with our words. If any victim wants to come forward to give the complaint, we'll investigate as any other case has been investigated so far by the SIT.
Now, let's get into the investigation itself. When the videos first came, Prajwal Revanna's face was not visible, right? I remember the first confusion, the questions being raised was, how do we ensure that the man behind the voice is his? So was that one of your first dilemmas? How did the investigation progress? Or was getting the victims the first step in the investigation?
I would like Suman to answer it.
Yes, definitely. See, for cases where women are victims, or in cases where sexual harassment or sexual abuse is an offense, in such cases, victim is a primary point where our investigation has to start. So till the time victim comes forward and gives her complaint, the investigation will not start. So as and when the victims approached us, that is when we had a strong case. Because in such cases, definitely any other evidence will take a backstage as compared to the evidence or the complaint of the victim. Whatever she says will be relied upon even during the trial. So her statement was of prime importance. So when she gave her complaint with all the details of the offense, what had happened 3-4 years back, so that became the starting point around which the whole investigation was built up. And definitely, as you said, digital evidence was a part of it. And his face, the accused face, was not visible, but there were many other evidentiary points which we were able to assess from the videos, especially his other body parts which were seen, and his voice, as you said, which was there, and the scene of crime. So all these things were looked into, analyzed, and finally they were submitted to the forensic lab to identify and match with the person. So the reports were again crucial to corroborate whatever victim had stated to us. And finally, we were able to give a good charge sheet, prepare a good charge sheet.
But tell me something, we're talking about this happening in May of 2024 when the elections are just about to happen and Prajwal Revanna himself is a candidate. What mental state were the victims in at that time? And this particular survivor was in fact kidnapped. She was missing for 2 or 3 days. It's only after that when she comes back and then agrees to give this complaint, right? How difficult was it to keep them, to give them some hope, because they are fighting against a very powerful politician?
See, I tell you, initial reaction after the pen drives were surfaced in different parts of the Hassan district, just 3 days before the date of election voting, it was thought that it is a political way. But once the videos were circulated and the extent of the things were not known much, slowly the extent of this crime came to be realized by the society, and almost every victim was under shock. Coming back to the victim of the case which we had got conviction, as you know, that she was kidnapped also from her house so that she should not come forward to give the complaint. Nearly 3-4 days later, we were able to secure her. And at the time of when we secured, she was in totally distraught condition. Last 4 or 5 days, she had not taken baths and only surviving on food. That was the basic minimum. So she was not in a position to, in a mental position to talk properly. Forget about having the composure itself. That time, Suman and other team members, they had taken the help of counselor as well as some medical help, that she can tell how she was the person who had interacted the moment she was brought to Bangalore, and she may be able to tell them much better about her mental state of affair at that particular
Yes,
point
sir.
of time.
I'll add to what Sir told you. I agree with what Sir said. I mean, she was totally distraught, distressed. We took the help of Parihar, which is with Bangalore City Police. So the Parihar counselors, and also there were counselors from Nimhans who came, and we had a couple of interactions with the victim. So when she got to know, that is the time when she got to know that there were videos of hers which were being circulated. Till the time she was rescued, she was not aware that her videos were out in the social media. And when she came to know, she was definitely totally, she was broken down. And at this juncture, I would like to add that not only the victim's mindset, it is the family's mindset which matters, I feel.
Correct.
So because the family stood by her side, they were there to reassure her that nothing will go wrong. Let us go and give a complaint. That is when she gathered courage. And that along with that, our counselors definitely, they interacted with her in their own methodology. They have some methodology to follow in such cases when the victim is affected mentally. So all these things were like they helped her to come forward, to be brave and lodge whatever the offense had happened, lodge a complaint about it. So I feel the larger society or the family plays a major role to make them strong and tell what actually they have gone through. So it took a day, more than a day, to make her speak about what actually had happened. After a couple of sittings, counselings, that is when she came and gave a complaint. So we have seen her breaking down several times before coming for a complaint. Yes.
So in continuation with what you were saying, this is something that I've also observed as a journalist covering a lot of cases. In this particular case, you all gave a lot of, I feel like, care and interest to ensure that these survivors are lodged in safe houses, that they are looked after. How did that process go? Like, how did you all work together for that?
So, this in this case, what had happened, the victim background, she is a farmer brother from a very poor family, no social support other than the close family members. And the other side, the accused was one of the most powerful political family of the state. They are financially powerful, politically powerful, and socially also very powerful. So until unless the victim feels protected, it will be very difficult to take up this case even for the trial, forget about the seeking the justice. With that thought in the process, we ensured that she is protected. At the same time, she gets a livelihood also. She should not be dependent on the police or investigating agency. And we made sure that she is again fully employed and she is protected also. And her whereabouts are not known to anybody except very close family members. So she used to have her normal life without any fear. And at the same time, she was away from the influence of the opposite side. That's what. And the nitty-gritty of that, with this was the strategy, and the nitty-gritty of that was entrusted to Suman and her team with little bit of support from my side, and they made it sure that it is perfectly executed.
So I just want to underline for our audience what Mr. Singh and Suman are saying, that it is not just the investigation of the trial. They also ensured that the survivors are kept safe in a place, that they have livelihood so that they do not fall under social, political, and all kinds of pressures. So there are so many things which happen during an investigation that perhaps we are unaware of.
Yeah, if I can add to
Sure.
what Sir said, and there is a provision under Legal Services Authority, a state-sponsored provision where whenever a victim is under stress and she feels that she may be under any threat during the course of investigation or trial, she can approach the court and seek protection. So about her safety, about her livelihood, there are provisions under the government scheme itself, which
But then most
usually,
times these things are not done.
no, they have to be done. They are done at various stages of the investigation and trial and conviction. The provisions are there, which we usually make use of. And in this case also, we have already used them.
I would also ask one more thing about the investigation in the preliminary stage. When these videos came, I remember that most of the people in the SIT were also women. But I know that the videos were inspected by both male and female officers. How difficult was that process? I mean, as a journalist or even the public, people would have seen 3 or 4 videos which were surfacing here and there. But you all had the task of actually watching hundreds of videos again and again. How difficult was that?
Suman, sir. See, as you said, initially when we seized the device and started analyzing the videos, there were a good number of videos and more than 1,000 photographs or screenshots which were there. While looking at the videos or photos, our main focus was to segregate, identify the victims, identify the scene of crime. So our whole focus was totally on identifying evidentiary parts from those videos. So it never felt, distressing. Although it was distressing because there were victims definitely, but freezing them every now and then and looking at these points and making a note of them, and definitely going to make a folder of each of the victim. After that, going for identifying them by the means of contacting NGOs, activists from the district who were able to help us. So that was a task in itself. But as you said, definitely that thing was there because while analyzing, there were male officers also, female officers also. A set of personnel officers were sitting just to do that job, to analyze and make folders and point out the aspects which were of value, and then have a discussion with IOs and then supervisory officers, and then we would bring details to sir as well. But yes, it was equally difficult also. But then we had to do it because that was our job.
Yeah. I want to ask you that in this judgment, when we read the judgment, it would have been very easy for you all to just depend upon the survivor's statement itself and the family. Because in this case, the family, the son and the son-in-law did go to court and say, this happened, and the sister also came to court. But there was proper scientific evidence which was there along with the witnesses, right? Why did you decide that it was equally important to gather the scientific evidence? Many cases we see collapse because it's either this or that.
Well, unlike normal sexual assault cases, what you get most important evidence other than the victim's statement is the biomedical evidences. In this case, they were not there. Biomedical evidences, they corroborate the statement of the victim. Since it was not there, how to get corroboration, that was the most important question, number one. Number two, the crime itself has been reported after 3 years. So definitely there would be always an iota of doubt about the statement of the victim, either it is the IO's mind or in the minds of the court. So until unless you get the entire statement corroborated by the other evidences, it would have been very difficult for the prosecution to present the case as well as judiciary to also to reach a conclusive conclusion that the perpetrator has, the accused has committed this crime. So in the absence of biomedical evidence, what was left to us only video. That was the only thing we were having. And the victim's statement. So we started using the same video to corroborate the victim's statement. So that's why this all scientific techniques you are used to see that we should get a supplementary evidence which can fully corroborate the victim's statement. But
And one of the corroboratory evidence that you all focused on was to identify the body in the man's body in the video and to make sure it matches with Prajwal Revanna's, which means you had to take pictures of whatever body parts, including the genitals. And at one point, the SIT goes to court because Prajwal Revanna was not ready to pose for the pictures, neither were the doctors ready to click these pictures. Can you explain how that panned out?
See, there were hurdles during investigation, especially when it came to having him examined medically under CRPC. So there is a provision which usually medical doctors, they examine the accused. But here, unlike the regular medical examination, our requirement was also to click pictures of him, especially his genitals, because those were the parts, along with genital, his other body parts were also visible. So those were to be pictured. So those photographs, when we sought the medical team to take in the presence of FSL, they denied because medical ethics do not allow them to take the photos. So they sought court's permission for this. So we approached the court, and to convince court, we definitely relied upon a couple of legal provisions, especially this Criminal Identification Act 2022, which was amended recently, and it provides for taking photographs. So that was relied upon. And also we referred to a precedence which was there in earlier elsewhere in another country, that is Turkey, in one instance where the male genital was photographed, the suspect's genitals were photographed, and they were matched with the allegedly circulated photos of a genital. So those were utilized to match, and based on the visible features of those genitals and all the ID marks which were there, or the veins and the color, all those things were relied upon. So on similar lines, we tried to convince the court, saying there are such precedences elsewhere which can be relied upon, and the court actually got convinced, and they permitted to take the photos, and that is how we went ahead, and the medical team was able to examine and also take photos, and then
you matched it.
We matched it through the help of FSL. Yes.
Is the first time in India perhaps that this is happening? Would it be?
At least in my knowledge, yes.
Yes.
I don't know, but as far as my knowledge goes, yes.
Yeah, first is first.
Because initially when sir and we were trying to understand, we were trying to contact a lot of states, FSL. So
how does this idea strike to look at a Turkish study in one more country, right? I think Japan, one more country.
Yeah,
study.
there was one more actually,
Yes.
Japan's. Yes. So it was actually under sir's guidance we were able to.
How does this idea strike?
Again, I told you, we were looking at how to identify the person without his face. So, the fingerprinting. What is the fingerprinting? The basic principle behind fingerprinting is that you had to point 10 points of the print at the same place and similar structural way to match it. So, it came to my mind, why I cannot extrapolate it to the human body. If I can find the distinctive marks on the body, and if I am able to match it, then it's as good as having fingerprint. The normal requirement, it has to be 8+ to make it mathematically impossible to have anybody else.
I mean, 8+ identification should be similar.
8 different identification marks at the same point and same marks. If they are there, that means you can safely presume that they belong to the same person. this is simple mathematics probability. So with that thing, it came to my mind, and then I asked Suman to find out if there is something on the net. And if you come up, then he came with the two studies, and we used them for the purpose.
You do see that this is going to become an episode of that CID or one of those shows, right? Considering that all this has been done.
It was never in our mind. Our mind was only to make sure that the case, we should get evidence pakka. And what happens, unlike human evidence, where there is a chance of little bit of goop of creating doubt, the scientific evidence is once it is there, it is there. You cannot create doubt about it. You cannot find a minor inconsistencies which happens in the typical human evidence where we deposit before the court. Then you can find some inconsistencies. Person may forget some part of it, or he may not be remembering properly some part of it. But in case of scientific evidence, those things are not there. So once they are there, they are there. So that frankly, let us rely as much as possible on the scientific evidence and as less as possible on the human evidence. If you look at the court records, other than the punch witnesses or experts, there are only 4 or 5 witnesses.
Sister, son-in-law.
Yeah. The
Total.
mainly her family.
Other than the experts, there are only 5 witnesses in this entire case, including the victim. And the rest of the things are either experts or
Yes.
science.
Out of 26
Out of
which were
26.
examined, yeah.
Out of 20.
4 or 5 were.
Yeah, I was scrolling through
That's
everybody's a
witnesses.
mother witness.
Yes.
So how strong is the judgment? Do you believe that even if he goes for an appeal, that the judgment is strong enough to withstand in a higher court?
I can say one of the finest judgment I had ever seen. Everything has been explained. Whatever doubts were raised by defense has been countered. So in my opinion, it is going to withstand in the court of law.
And during this whole process, now I don't want to put you in a spot of trouble asking was there pressure on you, but on the survivors themselves, was there any kind of intimidation or threat or pressure on them, other than from society itself, I'm saying?
Suman was interacting. I had only met the victim once after her evidence was over. So I will not be able to comment on it, but she will be
Definitely,
knowing.
there was no threat at all actually when we were interacting with her, because she would have brought it to our notice. And there was an instance initially when this kidnap happened. So it was all to threaten and not to allow her to come to the police or the court. So after that episode, I think there was not much of effort from the other side to intervene or interfere or approach them. So it was a little cautious moves, but she definitely was not approached.
And will you want to reopen the kidnap case now, considering this judgment has come? Because the kidnap case was against the parents of Prajwal Revanna and a person who works for them.
That case is already charge sheeted in the court.
Yeah.
The proceedings are going
No,
on.
but when the bail order came, I thought it sort of cast doubts on the...
No. See, bail is totally different matter.
Yes.
So bails are granted on so many factors, are denied on so many factors. So court, in the eyes of the court, that this was not such a case where the bail can be denied. So they had granted bail. But in this case, the court was of the opinion that no, this person cannot be outside. So the court has rejected the bail. So bail is no way connected to the final outcome of the case or the trial of the case.
So my final question to both of you is that we have 3 more cases coming up. All the very best for that in this. But if you look at the entire Prajwal Revanna issue, right, do you also believe that it was like a lot of things coming together? We had so many women activists in the district itself who came to fight the case. Otherwise, perhaps it wouldn't have come out at that time. And the Women's Commission intervened.
Yes.
Then the police did such a good job of, putting out the evidences, and then the trial. So for something like this to come out, a judgment like this, a lot of things have to work together in tandem.
Yeah. The civil society kept a pressure on. Initially, they were able to meet the victim. Some of them they were able to convince to come forward. Then Women's Commission, yes, they started ball rolling. Prosecutors, judiciary, everybody. That I can say in this case, everything ran perfectly. And this can be an example of every organ of the state minds, things can change.
To add to what Sir said, I think investigation was very meticulous. And apart from that, the follow-up which happened during the trial, although all the bodies were involved, but the follow-up definitely yielded results because prosecutors have to be briefed what exactly we have done in the investigation, because they will not be able to understand what is the investigation by plain reading of the charge sheet. So definitely we were working together, prosecutors and investigators, till the end of trial. So that is something I would like to add to, other than the efforts put forth by all the other bodies. Definitely these were the crucial ones in my opinion.
Okay. So thank you very much for speaking to the News Minute. And as I said, you will see both these characters very soon on perhaps some crime show or the other. And all the very best for the next case. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Danya.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. At the News Minute, we have been following the story in great detail. You can read all our stories and watch our videos. And remember, we are a website that's completely dependent on your subscription. So if you liked our coverage, if you like this interview, don't forget to look at this QR code or the description below and become a subscriber.